Hello, James here. I'm back again. I, I'm going to show you a video. It was a topic I was doing last night, and I just and this is concerning with religion, and it can be any religion, no matter if it's Christianity, Judaism. It could be in Islam, it could be in any other those religions. But it's a topic that most people like to keep it under the cover. Now this particular set of people, they call themselves Christians. And sometimes you see them go out, they're young men that go out to the door and they dressed up in nice shirts and ties. And so they preach the gospel and everything, right? And they present the gospel and want to give their version of what God has given to them. I'm going to show you this one video. I got this fair use of this video, copyright 1976 for a teaching moment. But I wanted to show you what one of my favorite content creators made this video about this woman, and I'm going to show you how undercover racist people are, and she's going to expose what she was taught in the church when it comes to black people, and it's going to come on out with it. And I really admire what this woman did, because some people don't like to talk about things like that. They don't like to talk about, it's not trendy, and I'm glad that it's exposed, because when black people do something, it's like, oh, you making out something bigger than what it is. Oh, it must be there. So I'm going to show you the woman who is Caucasian, white. See what she said, what she was taught in the church. And because I don't want to seem like I'm just saying something out of bitterment or whatever. Sometimes you got to present, let it come from the horse's mouth. And I got this off of his channel, and I'm going to show you what this really is about.
Go to the top menu. Join PC Tech Forum.
But it's about to lead to that. But yeah, and it don't necessarily have to be in a certain religion. Race affects all different. Basically, there's some level of totem poleism, what I call totem pole, when it comes to people, and when it comes to simply because it's tone of the skin and what history has even told. Listen to this.
She wanted to, let people know about what the teachings are in relation to black people and how racist it is in that particular religion. That's really clear.
Hey, my friend. Thank you for this question. I need to preface it with a few things first. First of all, racism is alive and well in the Mormon Church, even today. It is taught and believed that the Book of Mormon is the cornerstone of the church. And in the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith taught about a people coming to the Americas from Jerusalem, and these people were white. But when some of these people chose wrong and went against God's commandments, God cursed them with a dark skin. But when they chose right, God would let their skin be white again. And we were taught that these dark-skinned people were the indigenous people of the Americas. And even though this has been completely debunked by science, DNA shows that the indigenous people are not from Jerusalem. They're from Asia. This is still taught every day in the Mormon Church. And I was taught this from a very young age. And it is something that I will never forgive the Mormon Church for, in teaching me to be racist. It is this teaching that has never allowed me to look at someone with a different colored skin than white as someone less than me. That because I'm white, I am chosen. I am more favored by God. This is ridiculous. I don't even believe in God anymore. But what a horrible thing to teach a child. Now, I'm 52, and I don't think some of these things are taught anymore in the Mormon church. They've had to do some backpedaling. But as far as the black people, when I was young, I was taught by my parents, Sunday school teachers, seminary teachers, and at the pulpit that the black people were cursed with a dark skin because of things they did before ever coming to earth. They weren't as bad as the third of the host of heavens that became demons, but they were close. So God cursed their skin so when they came to earth, life would be harder for them. That's why they became slaves in America, because God wanted it that way. God made it so their lives would be hard enough that they would have to keep choosing God over all their hard things, kind of like Job. And the white people weren't going to have to go through as much. And we're taught this is all coming from a loving God who loves all of his children. These are highly racist and damaging things to teach children. And I don't know how Mormon apologists can even come close to turning this around. And I don't like it at all.
Well, I learned something new today. I didn't know that I'm truly a white man, and because I guess I've done some wrong things. I got this skin color, and if I can just clear those things up, I'll turn back white. I mean, wow. That's something new I didn't know. I mean, you seriously teaching somebody that? I mean, it's just amazing. White supremacy is a religion, folks. It is. And let me tell you something. Religious fervor is what makes people do the worst. When people feel like they're doing something unto their God, they can justify anything that they do.
Look at
to
the shirts.
The same thing when they talk about, jihadists and all of that. They feel like they're doing it to, Allah. Right? That's what they feel like they're doing it to. Well, it's the same thing with these people. Teaching that something wrong with black people and that we deserve to be treated the way we're treated. But what happens to just the simple 10 commandments? I guess we just throw out the 10 commandments. I guess we throw that out. If you just follow even the 10 commandments, or even follow what they say in the Bible, the Beatitudes. If you follow things like that, you couldn't treat black people that way. Not at all. But this is the justification of white supremacy through religion. Because you got the Mormon church and you got these evangelical Christians, which is the same, they cut from the same cloth. White supremacy. White supremacy.
There it is. Plain as day. Plain as day. There it is. And there's some people still that think like that. There are still churches that supposed to be under the doctrine of Christian. They're supposed to be Christians, believer in Jesus Christ. So Jesus, are we okay with that? You think the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit would be okay with that? Really? That's how he favored. But there are people. But they're not. There's other people that. Of other people subconsciously feel the same way towards people, and particularly towards black people, or one of the people that in America, in this country, I don't know about other countries, is taught. This is what I call it, the coded racism. The coded. See, even in some churches. And they try to do missionary work, trying to spread the gospel. And see, some are Caribbean brothers and African brothers and indigenous brothers. They don't know this. They don't know that there's some people in America who think like this, who's supposed to be Christian. That they're giving you the religion. And that's what he called, what he said, supremacy. And it is what it is, but there's other churches that believe in this. And unfortunately, you get some knuckleheaded people that still think like this to this day. And there are churches that still separated and segregated on Sundays based on race. See, we might believe in the God, but we believe that the God should favor only the people that look like us. And then you have people, and it's not just a white people, but you got other people that think like this, that's under the Christianity. That's one of the religions that we're favored. We're told that we're the chosen and better than other races and stuff like that, and that the other races are just subservient. But they bring it out of a texture out of the Bible, and so it's not a surprise. But I want to finish what he's saying.
White supremacy is a religion, folks. It is. Because you look at the surface, if you start really breaking it down and thinking just a little deeper into the things that they do, it doesn't make any kind of sense. There's no logical sense that can be made of what they do, so it has to go on religious fervor. And why the hatred for us is so deep. They hate us because they feel that it's the right thing to do with their God. Now, their God is not the Father of heaven and earth. Their God is Satan. We know this. Because only Satan promotes kill, steal, and destroy. And they feel that's what their God wants them to do, is to kill, steal, and destroy black people and anybody else they deem that they can steal resources from, or steal bodies, or steal whatever. Now, this woman says she's upset because they taught her this, and every day there's more and more white people that's coming into the truth. And this is where you have this critical race theory thing come from. It's because it's not about black people. It's about gotta keep white people asleep. Gotta keep white people believing the lie of white supremacy. Because if white people wake up in mass, then they know good and well is over. Because when white people come into the truth, they cannot just go back to sleep. That's anybody. When you know something, when you know better, you do better.
Exactly.
And they gotta make sure to keep white people asleep, keep white people with this religious fervor, to keep the hatred of black people going. But every day and every generation that comes up, their white children today is way more integrated with black people than they ever have been.
That's true.
And they don't even know how to deal with that. They trying to figure out how to reel that back, but they can't reel that back. And a lot of these white children today don't even want to hear no talk about no church, no Mormon, no nothing.
Yep.
Because they look at it as fake anyway.
Yep.
That's how they look at it. They don't want to hear no talk about no religion, and that's good. Of course, definitely your millennials and Gen Zs, I'm talking about all people at this point, that is good. Because they use religion to brainwash and create people to hate other people. Listen, I love God all day. I do. And in the scriptures, it don't teach to hate nobody. The only thing the scriptures teach is to hate a lying tongue. The scriptures teach to hate those who shed innocent blood. The scriptures teach to hate those who sow discord among the brethren. The scriptures teach to be against people who hate you without a cause, which the white supremacists hate us without a cause, so we haven't done nothing to them. There's certain things that we can't hate. Evil is things that we can't hate. We do not love evil. Not at all. But shout out to this woman here for, just exposing what's being taught. They're teaching some white supremacist rhetoric through religion. And a lot of these Mormons, they big enclaves, in Utah? But yeah, it's good. It's good. We live in an age of knowledge, folks. All things are being exposed. All things. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. But y'all let me know what y'all think about, this lady here. Shout out to her for being brave enough.
Now, I couldn't say it better than that. He said it better than that. I'm going to show you a history story on how, from this other YouTuber, how people who said they love and believe in equalness,
What are you doing?
equality,
I'm learning
but
how to invest
you're gonna
in
hear
stocks.
another
There's
agenda.
so many
Why
options,
this is
and
back
I
in
don't even know
history
where to
during the
start.
time,
You tried Weevil yet?
and this comes from another YouTuber called Runaway Slave.
Your face. What's he trading?
I didn't even know about this part,
Ask. It has
and this was during right during
Why take the complicated
I
route when the
believe
easy way is at your
the Civil
fingertips?
War,
Assalamu alaikum.
but about
Welcome to my channel, Runaway Slave. This channel was created to promote my self-published masterpiece, The N-Word is No Secret in the Service. I wrote this book after I spent over 10 years as an officer in the United States Secret Service. During this time, I learned what true foundational, institutionalized, or systemic workplace racism is and how it affects my people. If you would like to purchase this masterpiece, just click the link down in the description. If you enjoy the content and would like to support the channel, please continue to like, share, and subscribe. In addition, if you would like to make a donation, we do have a cash app, which is $runawayslave609. Okay, let's cook. Okay, people, so today we're going to talk about a few of the biggest anti-racism races in American history, okay? So, what is an anti-racism racist? This person is a charlatan, is a fake person. These are people, Caucasian people, who belong to groups, clubs, or organizations, predominantly of white people that also use black people as pawns, who claim to be against the religion of racism and white supremacy, but they too practice the religion and they are racist themselves. These people are charlatans, they're sociopaths, and we see this quite often today, but it's nothing new, and that's why we're going to go over this today. Now, the reason why, when I see an organization, now it's kind of like these liberal organizations, or when I see an organization that's headed up or started by white people, and they claim to be for black people or anti-racist, it quickly raises a red flag to me, because
this can go
from
off
what
in the
I
church.
know in history and the current times, it has to be a lie. This has not been true, you know. My question is, why do you want to help us? What's this all about? Now, the history just shows me otherwise. I mean, for me to say that they're sincere and legit in what they're saying and doing, I would have to be running off of hope batteries and hopium. Now, peoples, we can't be confused by these groups who may appear as though they're helping, but you know, they give a couple handouts. You know, they put some, band-aids on a big wound, that they created, and you know, they take the pictures and put a black person in position to smile, and that's about it, yo. I mean, that's all it is to it. As long as we stay in our little poor, weak, confused Negro place under them, they're okay with that. Anything besides that, they will show their true colors, and they always have. With that being said, right, two so-called great women in American history are Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton. That's the names. Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton. Now, these are two white women. You might have heard their names. You might have seen their names on schools, bridges, honorable things. The system of racism, white supremacy has put these ladies' bodies and faces up in big pictures and statues, and this is who they teach your black children about in school and claim that they are great people. But these two women were hardcore white supremacist sociopaths, and they should be cursed by black people as opposed to applauded, okay? So, at one time, right, they had these abolitionist groups, right? They had these abolitionist groups, but these abolitionist groups were, or people who, were against slavery, or they were for black people's humanity and fair treatment. They also merged with a lot of the women's suffrage movement. So I would say that anti-slavery and giving black people their human rights and these women's, might I say white women's suffrage movements were working together, And these were groups of white women who wanted women's rights. They wanted the right for women to vote and things like that. So remember, at one time, people in America, white women were not allowed to vote. Okay, their fathers, their brothers, their uncles, their grandfathers, or whoever decided that they were not worthy of voting. This is what they did. Okay, they decided that they were not worthy of voting. Now, so these abolitionist groups, right, and white women at one point, they often work hand in hand. Me personally, I still believe it was then and now a sneak tactic. You know, I just believe that they want to piggyback off of black struggle to promote their own agenda. This is what I believe. Now, do I believe that some white abolitionists may have been sincere people? Yes, I do believe that may have been some. But, you know, people bring the name John Brown up a lot. And I'm not saying that his story wasn't true. But, and if it is true, much respect to him for doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And willing to really die for what he believed. But I want to know why he's the only one they bring up. I want to know why he's the only one they bring up. I'm not going to really say that all of these abolitionists were for, the humanity of black people. And I hear 1 or 3 names or 10 out of all those years and all those people. I need to be hearing more, like abolitionist type wars and things like that. So, bringing up this one man named John Brown, or maybe a couple more, that don't change the narrative here, okay, of these white movements. To me, it don't change the narrative. I just can't say, okay, well, yeah, they were all for this and they were all for black humanity and women's suffrage. But yeah, and this story right here is going to show you a reason why, okay? Now, it's kind of like these new people that you see, these LGGGG people saying that they are for black lives and things like that. And these people who in these organizations, they're racist themselves. They claim to be against racism, but they're pretty much just parasites sucking the energy and the attention from black movements, sucking the resources to act as if their struggle was equal. That's where this LGGG stuff comes from. That's why when you see these LGG people, you always see the BLM thing. They're trying to make it as if their struggle is equivalent or almost the same as the black struggle, which is not. It's wrong. It's disrespectful as heck. You know what I'm saying? It's the okie doke. But we're gonna talk about these two women's rights abolitionists or women's suffrage people who are gonna prove what I'm saying. And again, these are two women who are put up in lights in American history. You know what I mean? So we're talking about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Now, again, a lot of us have heard the names. A lot of us, we don't really care to even understand, what they do or who they were supposed to be, which was really nobody except being hardcore racist. So this chick, Susan B. Anthony, right? She was really, really out there. She was a real abolitionist. She was out there since a young age. Her family schooled her to be an abolitionist. She was so-called for the humanity of black people and against slavery. Frederick Douglass was actually one of the people who trained her. So this lady actually knew Frederick Douglass, and Frederick Douglass was one of the people who, showed her and her peoples how to organize and do things in the abolitionist movement. You know what I'm saying? This, and she was raised like this from a young girl by her family, Susan B. Anthony, y'all. Now, she became as she got older, she became a big-time leader in both the anti-slavery and the women's rights movements. And again, like I said, these two movements were often, in history, they were often intertwined, which is women's suffrage and anti-slavery. They usually work together. They shouldn't have, again, but these organizations, in my opinion, their goal is to act as parasites and leech off the black struggle and try to, take some of the resources and attention, always trying to make sure that, if they're going to get theirs, if we're going to put this out there for them, we got to get ours. You know what I'm saying? One of them type things. So Susan B. Anthony's out here. She going hard, y'all. She's going hard. She was, what she showed in public is that she was very passionate and she was hardcore and tireless in her efforts for equality. she put herself in danger many times. On some occasions, she would do these rallies and these events after the Civil War. She advocated for the integration of African American people in the United States. So she would put herself in physical danger to promote her message, you know. So they say in the year 1861, this Susan B. Anthony gave a speech. And a little bit of that speech was, she said, "Let us open to the colored man all our schools. Let us admit him into all our mechanic shops, stores, offices, and lucrative businesses." Okay? "Let him rent a pew in the church and occupy such seat in the theater. Extend to him all the rights of citizenship." So this is something that she said in a speech, okay? Now, her partner, her Mutt and Jeff type partner, right, is this lady Stanton. This Elizabeth Stanton lady. Now, Elizabeth Stanton, another white woman, she was very well educated, okay? She was well educated, and she was married to an abolitionist named Henry Stanton. So since she's married to this man, of course, she too became very active in the anti-slavery movement, and she worked alongside her husband and other leading abolitionists of her day. You know what I mean? So she was out there as well, hardcore, doing her job. They were so deep, her and her husband was so deeply involved in this anti-slavery movement that one time she was on her honeymoon, and she was in London, and while they're on their honeymoon, they're attending something called the World's Anti-Slavery Convention. So if you're going to an anti-slavery convention on your honeymoon, you really got to be somebody who's going hard. Now, she also became very involved in the women's suffrage movement as well. So while she was at this convention, right, she met a woman by the name of Lucretia Mott. So she met Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Stanton. She met Lucretia Mott. They hook up, they talking or whatever, and they instantly become friends. You know, they express their passion for helping white women get rights, you know, or they say women get rights, but we know it's white women. So they both had a passion for that. So they hook up, they go back to the States, and boom, they click up, and then they do what they had to do. You know, they started forming groups, organizations, getting busy, you know. Now, in time, Elizabeth Stanton met Susan B. Anthony, and they became very close. So these two formed White Woman Voltron and became two powerful women for white women's rights and white women's suffrage rights. I can't say black women because they were not advocating for black women. And we know that because of what the result, we see the result, you know what I mean? So we have Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, they're working together.
Now, let me ask a question right quick before we go on. Now, now you see how history, what do you see today? BLM. Guess who BLM was? Black Lives Matter. They integrated, as an organization behind them, is predominantly white. And that funded Black Lives Matter.
They are both abolitionists. They come from an abolitionist background, which is anti-slavery, giving black people their rights. They were very active in that movement. They're both abolitionists, and they're also women suffrage rights people. So they are for the rights of women. Remember, again, at this time, women couldn't vote, and they were for promoting all of this, okay? And remember, Susan B. Anthony came off the vein of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass actually schooled her and her family, so she's deep into it. Elizabeth Stanton is the wife of an abolitionist. She's deep into it, traveling all around the world on this anti-slavery stuff. Well, listen to this, and this is what proves a lot of what I believe and you believe in what we say about a lot of these, these white charlatans who say they're for black people. Congress wrote at one point the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, part of it said, no state could infringe on the rights of citizens regardless of color. This gave black people representation in the government. Okay, now the thing about this amendment is they added the word male 3 times. They added the word male. So for the first time, the Constitution gave rights to male citizens instead of just citizens. So, outcome. Black men can vote, white women can't. Not that this means anything for black men. We see the outcome, okay? But black men can vote, white women can't. So, what do you think happened now? These two women who go around trying to get women's rights and trying to get women to vote, and trying to get black people so-called rights and things like that. They're anti-slavery, they're abolitionists. So, these two women are pissed. They mad now, yo. So they're thinking, oh, we here pushing this anti-slavery agenda and voting rights for women, and these N-words could vote, these men, and we can't? Oh, no. Now, I'm not saying, I don't know if they said that, but I strongly believe that's what they're thinking based off of their actions. You know what I'm saying? Based off of their actions afterwards. So men can vote, but they are pissed. They're very upset. You know what I'm saying? Because again, remember, these people who have these organizations, or they part of these organizations, they are okay as long as you stay in your little Negro popcorn, shrimp, docile, ignorant, acting meek position under their shoe. That's the only way that they're okay with you. You know what I'm saying? So, after these black men got the right to vote, they're still out doing their job. They're pushing this women's rights thing. They are frustrated and upset. But what happened was they became even more frustrated and upset that nobody was paying them any attention or speaking up for them. So, black men can vote, but nobody's paying these chicks any attention. It's like, whatever. You know, white people are like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The men who work in these abolitionist movements, who want to work with them, other white men, they kind of abandoned them as well. And they became more focused at a point in time on voting rights for black men. So these two chicks, Elizabeth and Susan B. Anthony, they just heated. They mad now. And they directed their energy to what? Probably what they always knew and always believed, and what was always in their heart. So, even Frederick Douglass, y'all, who was a friend, they say he was a friend of Susan B. Anthony. I don't know how much of friends they are. You know, history sometimes lies, it could be true. You know what I mean? But Frederick Douglass was a long-time advocate for women's rights as well, in addition to, you know, anti-racism, anti-slavery. And he also wrote that white women are not being generous by wanting women to be included in suffrage with black men. So Frederick Douglass is pretty much saying that these chicks are being selfish. You know, they're being selfish. So they're still out doing their thing. Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton, they're still out doing their thing for women's rights. They're traveling around, they're giving speeches, they're trying to get women's rights. Now, what happened was when they were in Kansas at one point, they met a charismatic white supremacist Democrat politician named George Francis Train. So they run into this dude. This dude, George.
I want you black people who are Democrats, hear this one. No matter if you're black or Republican or whatever, hear this.
Francis Train, he knows, you know, about their work and what they're doing. And so George Francis Train, he decided to back Anthony and Stanton and trying to get women in Kansas the right to vote. So this man said, okay, I'm going to get behind y'all. So being that this dude was very charismatic, he was a man, people liked to see him. You know, he was a hardcore racist, he had money, he was a politician. He bought them lots of attention and money to their movement. So, and that was due to his personality, and people would come from all over just to watch him speak and watch his antics. So he bought the movement, this Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton, their women's suffrage movement, more attention, okay? So these two, knowing that this man was a hardcore racist, a hardcore Democrat, you know what I'm saying? He was deep in racism in his speeches and everything. They still decided that they're going to go on tour with this dude. He was a known super overt racist. They didn't care. So they went all in their partnership with this dude, and they continued their tour with this racist man as he gave racist speeches and poems and things like that. So these two women, right, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Susan Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. These are two women, right? Two white women, abolitionists, who spent their whole lives fighting for freedom and rights for black men and women, so they say. They're on a bench with this dude Train as he gives racist speeches. Here's a speech that he once gave. He said, white women work to free the blacks from slavery. Black men to enslave the whites with political knavery. Woman votes the black to save. The black he votes to make the woman slave. Hence when blacks and rads, in quotes, unite to enslave the whites, 'tis time the Democrats champion women's rights. He just trying to be clever and smooth. It's corny as heck. You know, a lot of these white dudes, you know, especially like him, they try to give these little speeches and people stand up and clap. You know, it's just real stupid. But this dude, George Francis Train, had money. He had money. So they went on tour with this dude, right? As he's doing his little thing, giving his little witty speeches or whatever they're giving their speeches. And he went on, they furthered their relationship, right? Or their partnership. And he went on to fund Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton's publication that they have called The Revolution. So, in this publication that they have called The Revolution, these two so-called anti-racist, anti-slavery, anti-lynching white women, abolitionists, they began to accommodate themselves with racist rhetoric and things like that. And they were trying to appeal to racist political power. Basically what they're trying to do is get the Democrats down with them. Like, look at us, we're racist too. You know what I'm saying? Which, to me, it was easy for them to do. It was like a fish taking the water because all they had to do was just start saying what they always believed. You know what I mean? So in this publication, they're writing, they're doing their little thing, putting out work. They even had some work where they tried to say that black men had a desire to rape white women. Now that's actually very deep and disrespectful because at the time we know this was their usual excuse for why they lynched black men, which was a lie. They were usually lynched because they were businessmen, but they would say that you're going to rape a white woman or you're with a white woman or a white woman likes you. So these two anti-slavery, pro-black, helping black people, abolitionists, they started writing about these things, and they were the two writers in their publication. You know what I mean? They also wrote in their publications that white women voting would be better for white supremacy. They're going all out, y'all. So they're saying that, they said this because they said that white women's vote could outnumber the votes by black people. Basically they're saying you should get white women to vote because you'll have more white supremacists here. We'll vote and we'll continue with racism, but these black men, it's not enough for them. Like, get us to vote and we'll further racism. This is what the type of stuff.
Again, this is history. It's happening today. No matter if it's on the Biden side or the Trump side. But this is talking about the Biden side. And this is where majority black people voted for. This is your history.
Chicks was writing, yo. This is what they were writing. You know? The one chick, Elizabeth Stanton, she was more of the writer. She was more of the writer, and she wrote the majority of these racially charged articles. But Susan B. Anthony endorsed her work, and she wrote her own stuff too. Susan B. Anthony was writing her stuff too. Again, remember, these were two anti-racist abolitionists. We want to end slavery. We're for black humanity, people. They're going all out. They were trying to get the attention of the Democrats. Listen to this letter. This is a letter that Susan B. Anthony wrote to the Democrats in the year, they say, 1868. She's trying to persuade him to include women's suffrage as part of his national political platform, okay? Listen to what she said. She said, while the dominant party have with one hand lifted up 2 million black men and crowned them with the honor and dignity of citizenship, with the other hand, they have dethroned 15 million white women, their own mothers and sisters, their own wives and daughters, and cast them under the heel of the lowest orders of manhood. That's what Susan B. Anthony wrote, yo. That's what she wrote. So she's saying, with one hand you lifted the black man, with the other hand you put us all down. Them your peoples, you know what I'm saying? Her own peoples are saying that you are not worthy of even voting. You're not even worthy of being a citizen, white lady. These are her people. These are their people. You know what I mean? So let me ask y'all something, right? Get in the comments. Do you think these two women, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton, they just became racist? Or do you think they were always racist? Do you think that, like, they were always racist like me? Or do you think, oh, well, a traumatic event like that could trigger something in them to make a good person turn racist? Because the way they jumped on this, y'all, was like a fish taking the water. It was no problem for them. But what do y'all think? Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. I know what I think. So the outcome, these two women, Elizabeth Stanton died in October of 1902, which was 18 years before women gained the right to vote, and Susan B. Anthony died in 1906. Neither one of them seen white women get voting rights. Good. I'm glad they didn't see it in their lifetime. These two disgusting white supremacist, charlatan, sociopath women, you know? So, look at it, y'all. Susan B. Anthony, she's the most popular one that they like to teach these kids about in American history. A white woman, right? A white woman. With all her effort to gather power to her cause, right? She joined racists, she accommodated racism, and she used racist rhetoric as a means to reach her goal. I believe when she was sitting around with Frederick Douglass, looking at him, nodding her head or whatever else, this is what she always was. Elizabeth Stanton, I believe this is what they always were. Now these are the people, if they were alive today, y'all would be saying, I'm not saying like y'all, everybody who's listening, but a lot of black people, these are the ones you say, oh well, such and such is trying to help us. She wants to do this and they wants to do that. No. As long as you stay in your little Negro, ignorant, popcorn shrimp, meek position under their heel, they're okay with it. Anything besides that, they're not going to like you, because it's something else. It's a mindset, y'all. It's a mindset. Another point I want to make to y'all. Let's be clear that black men's right to vote did not protect our people from the horrific violence at the hands of white supremacists throughout the country. Let's be clear about that. So I don't want you to give them any applause for anything. It did absolutely nothing. It did absolutely nothing. And we know that white women have more power than a black man. Point blank, period. You know what I'm saying?
NAACP.
Now, here's something interesting. Even after the passing of these two white supremacist Miss Piggies, right? Susan Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton, these white women's suffrage movements continue to promote racism. I previously did a video on Ida B. Wells, right? I did a video on Ida B. Wells, and how, in part of that video, I went into how these white women's suffrage groups ignored the causes taken up by black women activists like Ida B. Wells. And Ida B. Wells had to get real hardcore with these people. You know what I mean? This is a woman, Ida B. Wells, she had to travel all the way to England, and she actually hooked up with a white Quaker woman named Catherine Empey, who would listen to what she was saying and support her protest against lynchings of black men in the South. This was Ida B. Wells. This was a real woman. This was a woman who knew that if I want anything for my people, I can't be for the lynchings of black men. You know what I'm saying? Which was going on like crazy. I can't hate black men.
You hear that, black women?
What?
Nope.
So in the 1890s,
black women out there, some of
black women, they formed their own organizations, and they separated from the white women groups. You know what I'm saying? Because these white women groups who are around today, who black women often hook up with, they knew that these white women were doing nothing but making accommodations accommodations for racist members, and they were doing this at the
That's the
expense
reality.
of their black members. I don't believe none of them. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe it because
That picture, the picture before this picture, is reality. No matter if it's the Democrat or the Republican, it's all about the skin tone.
to believe it, you had to be running off of hopium batteries and hope. When did this ever happen in history where we seen otherwise? So here we go, y'all. That's the story of two white women, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton. These are women that black kids go to school. They're taught that these women are great, to be praised when they should be cursed. They were nothing more than racist, sociopathic charlatans, white supremacists. These sociopaths, they can sit down and go years and act like they're all about one thing, when deep inside they are for the downfall of your own people. These are charlatans. They're sociopaths, yo. You know what I mean? These white supremacists, Miss Piggies.
We got another video I want to show you. And this is for you people that it's all about healthcare. It's all about womanhood. This particular woman wrote this letter herself. Is another woman, since we coming on this woman stuff. Where is it at? Because you need to know the reality of this is American history. Are you gonna take this out of this? You don't want to tell your kids about that? You're not gonna tell them the whole truth. You want to tell them some of the truth, but you don't want to tell them the whole truth. The future generation is the whole truth of what's really going on and why we are divided the way we are as a nation. You don't want to tell that part of the truth. You want to keep it one-sided. So you blind it with music and sports and things. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. You want to blind it with music and sports. But hey, that's reality. That's history. And nothing new is under the sun. Nothing is new up under the sun. Nothing's new. Well, I just saw that video. It's all about healthcare, huh? I'll find that video. People say this, with the current situation right now, trying to find that video. Yeah, I like his commentary. He put in the work to bring that, but I'm bringing from a different perspective. It don't matter what party who you vote for. It don't matter. It don't matter what party you vote for. They two are the same bird. And it's sad that you got, and this for your Cynthia G's out there that be putting down black men that didn't build anything in the midst of them getting lynched. You send G's. When you curse your man, that's what the black men did. They were getting lynched. But you listen to her, and she's saying ignorant stuff like that. And she's going up in popularity. So you want to continue the continuation of a woman like that, of black men getting lynched. So if black men are getting lynched and getting killed, which they technically are, through different ways, being tortured to death, and medications and certain things and certain experiments. Why do you think they always focus on us? And this go back, and that goes back to the history on how they would love to see black people get tormented to death. And this is something that nobody want to talk about. It's just the past. But there's a scripture that says nothing is new up under the sun. It's just changing its forms. Racism changes forms. And now you don't have to be directly in your face. But I got it. Here's the woman who's responsible on what's coming up with this election. Ladies and gentlemen, meet who Hillary Clinton and others, and even Barack Obama says was a miraculous woman. Wait till you hear this one. That really want to destroy half the Negro race. But it's okay. You want to continue because of health care. And guess who's responsible? The party that he said on the other video, the Democrats. The Democrats is pushing this. And they use the black face to do this. So we don't want to be racist, but we don't want unwanted children. We don't want unwanted babies. So this is what they do. So you're going to hear who's responsible today. Who is this?
So I want you to listen to this letter that was written by Margaret Sanger in 1939. Margaret Sanger, who we know is the founder of Planned Parenthood, who also happens to be one of the most evil human beings of all time, and one of the most evil that we've heard about not too long ago, okay? This lady, Margaret Sanger, was thinking on a totally different world domination, sinister level. And if Margaret Sanger was a man, y'all, she would have had access and ability to do some more of these evil things that she wanted to. You know what I mean? A white woman in these days was a racist, yes, but they wasn't respected for being thinkers. You know what I mean? By anybody. But this woman, she was using her mind to think about her evil on a whole different level. And if she was a man, it would have been, she would have Hitler wouldn't have had nothing on this lady. So I'm going to read this letter, and folks, I want you to understand, I'm not getting into what a woman does with her body. I'm not getting into this decision, whatever they made, because that's on a whole different, deeper level, and that would change the whole platform if I started discussing that. We're talking about that. I'm talking about a white woman here who happened to be extremely evil. This is a woman who spoke at Klan rallies. She was a eugenicist. She was motivated by exterminating black people, human beings, period. And what's crazy is she happened to be admired at one point by many black women, only due to, of course, liberal brainwashing, which is a form of this mental illness that many of us deal with. You know, you can get black people to pretty much love anybody if you present it to them the right way. It's a shame. That's just the way it is, and this is what some of these white people like her happen to know. But in this letter, right, she's writing to a prospective donor. She's trying to get funding for some of her evil works for a project she's doing. The authenticity of this letter is real. As you can see, it's going to be right here. You can go dig it out of the archives and read the original version if you like to yourself. But get through the first part of the letter, right? The first part of the letter, listen to it, but the important part is the second part of the letter. And I'm gonna stop and pause before I start the second part of this letter so that you listen to every word that she said, okay? So she's writing a letter to somebody by the name of Dr. C.J. Gamble in Milton, Massachusetts, okay? So she writes, Dr. Gamble, it's good to know that you're recovering, and I'm also stepping up, and I have felt much better in the past week, whatever. Miss Delp was here for Thanksgiving, and I am more than delighted to learn that she was able to get $250 from the California Birth Control Organization, plus the $600 from the Federation. That's good. She is a go-getter and a live wire, very tactful and charming as well. I think that my pick of her has been justified. Even though she is a little higher priced than the ordinary, she has been working on an article to be written by Miriam DeFord. They were good enough to send me a rough draft for comments and suggestions, and the important suggestion that I made to them was not to include Ms. Delp's actual name in the article, because of the fact that her sister is married to one of the high spots in the Farm Security Department. And if the enemy started to work on her, they might make it difficult along that line. Otherwise, I think the article was good. As to my sending the suggestions to the Federation, I think that it is really unfair to me to do so. I am also far away to have the personal contact of different reactions, and it only holds up any definite project to have the pros and the cons battered about, which makes for more chaos and confusion. Okay, that's the first part of the letter. Pretty much is an introduction. She wrote this letter to this guy. She pretty much just hired somebody for a project that she's happy to have. And you notice in here, which is what a lot of people do, she's saying cover up somebody's last name because we don't want people to make the connection between who her husband is and she is, because that may cause issues for us. This is an attack of many people in the media, many people in business, when they're trying to promote their religion of white supremacy, or they want to cover things up. This is what they do. But here's the second part of the letter, which is the most important part. She writes, now listen close, there is only one thing that I would like to be in touch with, and that is the Negro Project of the South, which, if the execution of the details remain in Miss Rose's hands, my suggestions will not be confusing because she knows the way my mind works. Okay, she wants to be part.
The Negro Project of the South?
Suggestions
No.
of the Negro Project of the South. So she says, Miss Rose sent me a copy of your letter of this on December 5th, and I note that you doubt it worthwhile to employ a full-time Negro physician. So this man wanted to employ, okay, so this man who she wants the donation from does not find it important to him to have a full-time black physician. It makes no sense to him. He don't see the big deal with that. And she writes, it seems to me from my experience where I have been in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, that while the colored Negroes have great respect for white doctors, they can get closer to their own members and more or less lay their cards on the table, which means their ignorance, superstitions, and doubts. They do not do this with the white people, and if we can train the Negro doctor at the clinic, he can go among them with enthusiasm and with knowledge, which I believe will have far-reaching results with the colored people. You heard that? So basically what she's saying is, it's very important to hire a black doctor. We should train him because when we train him, he'll be working for us, and the black people will be more relaxed around him. They'll talk more. They'll be more ignorant. They'll say more things. They'll bring on their little superstitions. He can use his blackness to get closer to them. But as she said, we should train him. We will train him, okay? Listen to this part. Listen to this part. She says, his work, in my opinion, should be entirely with the Negro profession, as well as the county's white doctors. His success will depend on his personality and his training by us. She makes it clear that she wants this Negro doctor needs to be trained by her. She writes, the minister's work is also important, and also he should be trained perhaps by the Federation as to our ideals and the goal that we hope to reach. We do not want word to go out that we